Vessel, when I first had a look at it, was actually a rather interesting game. As I stated in the video, it wasn't what I planned to do at all. And that kind of worked out to my benefit, really, I guess. I mean, I like Vessel, and I was pleasantly surprised. It was a game that I wasn't actually going to take too much of a look at. I would have maybe done a cheap thrill on it if I hadn't have put it in as an AFG, but thankfully, due to these strange machinations that are Painkiller not working because apparently I haven't sacrificed a goat to it, it means that Vessel was then the game that got seen. And I'm grateful for it, honestly I am, because Vessel is a wonderful little journey. Well. Yeah! Let's jump into this. Go on then. Give me your first impressions of it. Like, how did it grab you?
I didn't know what to expect. You were like, right, doing Vessel this week. I'm like, okay. Install this. And I'm like, okay, this looks a bit... I played it with mouse and keyboard. First things first. I played it with mouse and keyboard the first time around. And it really irritated me. The controls on the keyboard were annoying, to say the least.
Really? I played on mouse and keyboard and didn't really have an issue. I decided to, like, throw away my Xbox controller for this one, and I was like, no, I shall go back to my roots. I shall be mouse and keyboard. And I enjoyed it.
I play everything with a mouse and keyboard. Well, I don't actually. I play everything with a mouse and a G13 because I have RSI. Yes. So I didn't... With doing a new different game every week, I've been trying to just use the default controls to see how easy it is to actually use. And obviously I'm having a lot of trouble with some of them that are a bit awkward, and the jumping and grabbing stuff, and it's just, all in all, it seems to work better on the 360 controller than it does with the keyboard, to be fair. A lot of the things where you grab onto them and spin them in circles and whatnot to operate the machinery just works better on the 360 controller.
They were a little awkward.
And it feels more natural.
Yeah, they were a little awkward on keyboard and mouse, but I have to admit, the keyboard and mouse controls, they are responsive though. They are, like, they feel smooth, and it feels like some consideration was taken for mouse and keyboard, but maybe, you know, certain things weren't taken into account.
You can't rebind
like,
any of the controls. If you could have rebound them, it would have been less of a problem.
Yeah, because it means that, like, you have awkward hand positioning for some of the things.
Yeah, that was my issue. Some of the things where you've got to run and jump and grab stuff were a little awkward.
See, I didn't really have too much of an issue with it, but then I never really have issues with, you know, awkward keyboard layouts, so...
Yeah, you're used to using the keyboard for stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm used to having, like, you know, my hands in awkward positions and my feet behind my head when I play games. Thus is the way of this strange circus folk. But, anyway, so, getting over the mouse and keyboard issues, how did it, because you... as always,
it wasn't what I expected at all. I didn't know.
Well, you never know what to expect, do you? Because I always just throw a name at you, and it's like this. By this, we're playing this, and then away you go. And it's like, okay, why am I like throwing money on this? Whatever, like, blah, 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 blah. And so you get the game, and then it's like, all right, so I'm now like sat here with a game called Vessel. I have no idea what this game is.
There's no speech immediately. There's no speech at all. It's all done in text, which makes it a lot easier on their part to make it multilingual, I guess. But it works quite well.
And voice acting costs.
Yes, very much.
A lot.
I find out with things like Swarto.
Yes.
It's
anyway, as you say,
simple puzzles. At least they start off simple. It's simple liquid puzzles at first, but it's a logic puzzle platformer that has a lot of kind of odd, cute elements to it. It's difficult to explain. It reminds me of a lot of the old games I used to play.
Yeah, because there aren't many games like this out nowadays.
No.
This isn't like, this used to be the norm, and now it's not. It's completely the opposite.
It feels like, I'm trying to think of the best kind of example. It feels like something like I don't know. Nobody will have even played it.
Go on, give the name.
I'm trying to remember what it was called. You were an ant and you had to run around on a platform and knock all the dominoes down. It was sponsored by Quavers. It's a really daft platform game with different types of
That sounds like some obscure
dominoes.
game that you got like in a packet of
Quavers. Know
Quavers.
exactly what I'm talking about. Just my really, really crappy memories. Not.
I actually had a discussion on the subject of things coming with like food. I actually had a discussion the other day about the old Jaffa Cake game that you could get. Did you ever play this, like on the Jaffa Cake website, where like you were in a Jaffa Cake factory?
No, I never really played website games. To be fair,
Yeah, I always remember that, and I remember the Tony the Tiger game that came with my breakfast cereal. There was one that came with my cereal that I remember. But everyone else looked at me like I was speaking some strange alien tongue. It was like, what is this? Games with food?
No, I was never into web games. This was like out on the Amiga and the C64 and stuff. I'm talking like years ago.
It reminds me a lot of Abe and Oddworld.
Yes, that kind
as
of.
well.
That kind of. It's not really humour. It's the feel to it, if you know what I mean.
Light-heartedness in some places, although Abe is actually a really dark game.
It's really
Abe is, you know, everyone.
Abe, to be fair.
Everyone looks at Abe and is like, oh, Abe was a cracking game. You made people explode. And you could fart all the time, and you were just randomly like, hello, follow me, okay. But it's like, if you actually like take a step back and look at Abe, it's like Abe is a game where you find out that a megacorp is turning your race into food, and you are trying to stop this from happening, and you will die a lot on the way, and you may not save any of them. But hey, who cares? Because at least you have fart jokes, right, guys?
Yeah.
And it's like, everyone looks at him and is like, oh, that was a cracking game. But hey. So yeah, it reminds me a lot of those kind of games. It also reminds me of, there was a game that I used to play when I was a kid on the Acorn. And it involved getting water or fluid from like the top of something all the way down into like collectors at the bottom. And I can't remember what it was called.
It was called Pushover, by the way.
The one you were thinking of, the ant one.
You had to knock all the dominoes down. Different kinds of dominoes did stuff. Yeah, there you go. Pushover.
So yeah, the style and the feel of it, I have to admit, it took me back to yesteryear, you know, days of old, and it felt good. I liked the 2D, 3D style as well, like the 2D backdrops and the 3D foreground.
Yeah, parallax backgrounds.
Yeah.
It's, again, very much a hark back to the way things always were. It's very, I guess it'd be very easy on a lot of PCs for that as well. It'll run on a lot of low-end systems. It
also is, you know, again, because we're dealing with an indie game here, it also helps with the cost. Like, if you're doing a 2D background, then that also, you know,
very
means...
much. I know how difficult it can be to develop 3D engines. Even something as fairly simple as this that's working on just multiple planes can be difficult to code.
Yeah. But the actual feel of the world, I really, really liked. The graphics, I felt, fit really well. In fact, the whole game, taking the whole game as a package, fit together really well, I felt. The music is one of the things I'm going to get onto in a minute, but the whole package together felt really nicely meshed. The graphics worked, the engine felt fantastic. They'd really paid attention to the key feature of their game as well, the fluid.
The fluid physics. I was just going to say, the fluid physics is brilliant.
It's mind-blowing in places.
It's very, very smooth. It just works with no awkwardness to it. They've done it.
You can also do some crazy things with them, like the first porter fluoro you get. You can actually, I was messing around with these, and I did what you did. I created like some hideous abomination of a fluoro that had like a million eyes, because I was just spamming these things down a pipe into like a pit of water. And it's just like, I created some abomination that if it could talk, the only words it would have said would simply just be, kill me.
Kill me. Why?
But I found this, there's one of the puzzles that you can do, and I believe it's going to be in the video. In fact, I can purposely put it in the video for this thing. and it's water coming down a passageway, and you
I
can
know
actually
which one you're talking about. Water is drawn to the seeds.
Yeah, you can throw this fluoro seed against the wall, and all this water that's falling down will start just stopping and building up on the side of this wall.
Because they're attracted to it, so you can bend the water flow, so you can bend it.
Yeah,
yeah.
And that whole bending water thing, that was fantastic. And also there was one part that I don't think I'll be able to recreate for the video. Like, I'd love to, but I don't think I will. But I believe it was at the fountain where you first get these things. I actually managed to like get enough water with one of these things by running backwards and forwards that I jumped like out of the fountain, and the water came with me, and I was able to basically just surf because there was enough water propelling me along.
Yeah.
And while I was just holding this fluoro, it was just literally like, this is fantastic, until I hit a solid surface. It's like, thank God there are no like physics in this game that mean that if I hit a wall, I'm going to die.
Yeah, the damage. I don't think there's any fall damage either.
No, I tested that in the first video. Like, I fell from the highest point I could possibly find, and it was like I just kind of landed with one knee in the cool, like, you know,
yeah,
pose. It was just like,
awesome
yeah,
pose.
Yeah, which for, you know, a random scientist inventor guy, like, how would he know to land like that? In fact, how would he even know to like bend your knees when you're jumping? And I'm expecting him to just kind of hit the ground and just shatter.
Well, he's a clever guy, obviously.
Maybe he knows kung fu. It's the whole like rich thing. Like, getting slightly sidetracked again here. The whole logic, like, you know, rich people, when it's like, well, I've got billions of pounds, what could I possibly do? I know, I'll build an underground fortress. Like, it was, I believe I mentioned it in the AFG, and it's like, it feels like that. It's, you know, well, what can I do today with my money? I know, I'll create a machine that brings water to life and basically laughs at man's god. It's, yeah, fine.
Oh dear, I've just created a...
You've created an abomination, haven't you?
That one's got 4 legs, but no, it's just 2 now occupying the same space, and they didn't like that much.
You're just going to end up like creating some sort of Godzilla-style fluoro.
Just starting again to run through the early puzzles and to see how well they play again. I'm just doing them where you got to get the 4 of them standing on the buttons all at the same time.
Oh, that one took me, like, I looked at that one and it's like, this one seems really easy, and I was like, I thought the thing up the top was actually a block that I needed the fluoro to get through or something. So I was trying to work it out, and then it was just like, oh, sod it, I'm just going to try the easy way, and then I realised it was actually background, and I could just walk through it.
Defeated by the parallax background.
I have to admit, the music for the game is fantastic, because I mentioned in the first one, I don't think you've seen the first video yet, have you?
No.
No. But we've both been busy this week, so I'll let you off on that one. But the music was done by John Hopkins, who has worked with Coldplay and Brian Eno and like Imogen Heap. But when they were creating the game, they actually managed to get a license for the music. So they had him creating music for it while they were creating the game. So they had this wonderful, like, they were able to design some of the things that were going on around the music, rather than, you know, designing the game and then trying to find music that fits the
music. Yeah,
the music was actually purpose built with the game in mind and at the same time. So, like, you know, they could have a track designed first, and then they could fit the game around this track. Yeah. And it really kind of shows, especially in, like, even in the earlier levels when, like, you're going through the caves and you're messing around with the fluoros and things.
Yeah, the
like,
floor,
the music,
caves and...
The music fits perfectly.
Yeah. Some of the early puzzles where you're just jetting water around and whatnot, very much so.
Yeah, like, the music fits those kind of scenes perfectly. I mean, I've not played all the way to the end yet. And honestly, I don't know how long, I believe I was told it's like 10 hours. I don't know how far through it I am either, because I normally take my time with games like this. Plus, also, I'm amazingly stupid when it comes to puzzles. So.
Yeah, some of the early ones, it was like, wow, that, and it, you know, took me a little while, and then it was like, you know, face palm. Oh, right, Yeah.
And also the fluoros seem to take great pleasure in messing with me.
Oh yes, yeah. Sometimes they do. The one where you gotta get in the factory for the first time, and they're all over the place, jumping on the spiky things. Man, they killed me God knows how many times.
There's when you first get your first seeds, the fountain. There's those 3 pillars, 3 switches that like operate blocks. That you, like, the fluoro is meant to jump on the first one, and then the second one, and then the third one, and you're meant to move through them, yeah?
Yeah.
When I first did this, my fluoro, after creating him and giving him life, and bringing him out of the darkness, you know, pulling him up from the primordial ooze, and naming him Gary, Gary the fluoro decided, hey, you know what would be great? Dicking with my master. So what does he want me to do? He wants me to jump on these buttons in the order of 1, 2, 3. I know what I'll do. 3, 1, 3, 3, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 1. It's like, my God, Gary, I made you, I will destroy you.
I will end you.
And it's like, at one point, he just got bored and stopped. And so there's me trapped between, like, door 1 and 2, just kind of going, Gary,
Gary, this is not funny.
And it's just like, let me out. Let me out. I'm not even angry anymore. Just let me out. I'm not going to jump on you. I promise I will not jump on you. I promise. Just let me out. And it's like, so what does he do? I'm stuck between 1 and 2. He jumps on 3. And it's just like, no, this isn't helping. And then he just stands there looking at me. And it's just like, I swear to God, I swear, I will kill you. And I will spawn offspring from you. And I will kill them too. And like, finally, he actually went 1, 2, 3. And it was like, my God, I hope I never see you ever again. And it's like... That puzzle must have taken me like 5 minutes, and all it was meant to be is, you know, ABC. And I was like, because it's out of my control. Just like, no. No. So yeah, like, fluoros troll the crap out of me in that game.
The water physics, again, I've got to mention that again, really good. I keep messing myself up in this puzzle. I'm dangling a hose and I'm trying to fill these 4 things, and the water physics is, the water's flowing against one of the switches, and it keeps rolling the switch before I want the actual thing doing, because it's building up behind the switch. It's building up to enough of it there to turn the switch over.
The one that I've loved the most so far was, there's a pipe that you have to throw seeds down, and you're swinging on this thing as you do it. And you're swinging back and forth on this thing, and the idea is that you just, like, you throw 1 seed through this pipe. I threw, like, 1,000.
Like, all the seeds.
I filled the screen. This is where I actually created the horrid abomination fluoro. But, like, the other side of the pipe where I had to go, there was just, like, this mountain of seeds that had missed the pipe, and I just built up, like, this wall. It's like, you know, if ever Arkwright was married, his wife would just come down here and go, what the hell have you been doing? And like, get some water, it'll fix it. Create like an army. But anyway, do you think then that this will be a game that you play through to the finish?
To the very end? Yeah, I do. I think it's probably something I'll play over and over again as well, just because some of the puzzles are cool to do. Some of the effects that you have to do with the water. In the case, so you can just splash water backwards and forwards. I'm just sat here in a massive puddle throwing water around. And
I also believe that this would be one that you're going to probably throw at Katie at some point as well. Like, I can see this being her kind of game as well. I quite
enjoy playing this one as well, because it's fun. Some of the puzzles are difficult, but they're not overly frustrating.
No, they're not insane puzzles. They're just, like, tricky in places. So, if you had to pick one word to describe it, then let's start deciding to wrap this up so that we can actually, like, let you go and play it, and I can find footage. If you had to pick one word to describe it, what would it be?
Retro.
Retro?
Yeah, retro puzzler and a platformer. It's just, it's a very retro game. I like it.
I don't know, I don't think I'd go with retro. I would say, light-hearted. It's a very like even with the music being designed for like some of the dark caverns in certain places, it feels very light-hearted. The fluoros are a very light-hearted design. It never gets too serious.
Yeah, even with some of the things that the consequences and whatnot, the way it all works.
Yeah. But I would say that. So if you had to pick one thing to point fault at, I'm guessing I can tell what it's going to be, but what is it?
Just the inability to remap the controls. It's a simple enough thing. That's just a little bit lazy in development. It's not hard to allow the user to remap the controls.
I would say the controls as well, given what you've told me about them, but if I didn't know about the controls, I would say maybe the Fluoro AI needs a little sharpening in some places, but it works well for the best part. The glitches that you will see are infrequent and very uncommon rather than the other way around. I was unlucky with Gary rather than, that being the norm.
Yeah.
Because I actually tested it to make sure, like, I went back and did that puzzle a few times, and it was like, it never happened again. Like, at all.
It might be dependent on where you're stood underneath. You might take a cue from where you stood.
Well, he's done by the light, so I'm guessing, like, I don't know, maybe he was just, like, maybe he wasn't stood just right, and so the light was, he was attracted to a different light instead of the one he was meant to be.
Yeah.
So, if, ending on the question that we always end on then, if you had to describe this game to someone, so if you had to recommend this game to someone, what would you say it was like, or how would you do it?
An awesome little fun to play, almost steampunk puzzle game, with using a lot of fun water physics. Fun puzzle platformer. 3 words. Fun puzzle platformer.
I would say a platformer that shows you some fond memories, sort of thing. Like it's very. If you played any old platformer like Abe or any of those, this really does kind of appeal to that like whole enjoyment of those style of games.
So I'm now stood on the top of the fountain, redirecting the water flow just by standing here, spewing water in all directions. It looks like the guy stood peeing off the top of the fountain.
What's his water bill going to be like, do you think?
Oh, this is brilliant. It's just so much daft fun, just throwing the water about.
Yes, messing with the water is fantastic. It's fantastic. Like, there is no other word. It is just fantastic. And given that I've now met my quota for that word, I believe we shall end it there. So, there you go.
Great fun.
It is, isn't it? It's fantastic. And now I've gone over budget.
3, 2, don't mess with me. 3. Yes, here we go.
That's the route mine... I know I said we'd end it, but that's the route mine took every other time. 1, 3, 2, 3. And it did that every single time, apart from the one where he went schizo. I think that's what he's meant to do every time, is 1, 3, 2, 3. But there you go. So, Vessel, on second thoughts, wrapped up a wonderful little indie puzzle game with very awesome fluid-based puzzles, and a fantastic soundtrack as well that accompanies the game. If you have any questions, queries, or comments, leave them down below. If you enjoyed the game, if you picked it up, drop a comment down below. If this video has helped you in any way, drop a comment down below. And of course, we will catch you for the next video in a week's time. Well, actually, on first glance, it's in 2 days now. Left this one a bit late. Busy.
Yeah.
Alright, catch you in 2 days. Peace.
In a while.